Oh, that's a topic I'm not going to discuss because, one, we're not supposed to discuss other teams' players in this position that I have here.
Okay.
And so I violated one of the tenets of our thing. And the obvious thing is the word itself carries connotation, and I just don't understand that part of it, the word. So, I guess word choice could be something I could regret, but yeah, talking about other teams' players out of the...
Phil Jackson didn't tease it. He didn't hint at it. He didn't ease into it. He broke the silence, and the shockwave hit instantly. After years of disappearing from the spotlight, the man known as the Zen Master finally spoke, and what he said about LeBron James has the basketball world spiraling. This wasn't a casual opinion. This wasn't a harmless comment. It was a statement that ripped open a debate fans thought was already settled. The league feels divided overnight. For years, Phil Jackson stayed off the radar. No interviews, no debates, no social media wisdom, just quiet. And then, out of nowhere, he drops a thought that challenges how people see LeBron's place in history. Not the points, not the rings, not the fame, legacy, immortality, all-time greatness. Fans are stunned. Critics are firing back. Timelines are exploding. Because when one of the sharpest minds the game has ever known questions where LeBron truly belongs, people listen. And here's the wildest part. This didn't happen on television. It wasn't a headline interview. It wasn't even meant to go public. It started behind closed doors, at a private dinner. And once those words leaked...
Play without fouling a lot of times. He played defense on almost everybody that's on the floor. He's an unselfish ball player. He doesn't lust to score like Michael or Kobe did, or does. He doesn't have that same. But when need is there, he definitely finds a way to score. So his game has continued to improve over the last 4 or 5 years. And
the war lines are drawn, and nobody's backing up. LeBron's supporters are furious. His critics are celebrating like they just won a championship parade. And Phil Jackson? He hasn't walked back a single word. Because when Phil Jackson talks basketball, the sport stops and listens. This isn't a hot take artist chasing clicks. This is an 11-ring architect of dynasties. 6 championships forged with Michael Jordan. 5 with Kobe Bryant. A man who didn't study greatness from a distance. He built it, day by day, inside the pressure cooker. 4 years, Phil stayed far away from the modern NBA noise. While social media screamed about GOAT debates and talking heads recycled the same arguments, he stayed silent. Watching. Observing. Letting LeBron James assemble one of the most impressive resumes basketball has ever seen. Rings. Finals MVPs. The scoring record. On paper it looks bulletproof. But Phil Jackson has never been moved by noise. He doesn't chase narratives. He doesn't react emotionally. And when he speaks, it's intentional. That's why what happened in late January 2025 hit like a thunderclap. At this point in LeBron's career, greatness isn't up for debate. That conversation ended years ago. The only question left, the one that makes people uncomfortable, is where does he rank forever? Above Jordan? The greatest ever? LeBron's defenders say the numbers answer everything. Longevity, versatility, cultural impact, influence beyond the court. But Phil Jackson sees something else. And for the first time in years, he decided to say it out loud. Players who played for Phil don't describe him as a coach. They call him a philosopher. Someone who understands greatness at a level most people never reach. So when whispers started spreading that Phil had opinions about LeBron's legacy, people leaned in. Still, nobody was ready for what came next. It happened at a private dinner in Los Angeles. Late January. Small room. Elite crowd. Basketball legends, executives, media insiders. No cameras. No microphones. Just real conversation. Phil was relaxed, enjoying himself, until the talk drifted where it always does. Legacy. Greatness. History. Then someone asked the question everyone was thinking. Where does LeBron rank all-time, in your eyes? According to multiple people in that room, Phil didn't hesitate. Not even a second. He said one thing that instantly froze the table. No side chatter. No awkward laughs. Just silence. Then he began breaking it down, how modern greatness works, how the league has shifted, how narratives today are shaped, protected, and amplified in ways that never existed before. And then he dropped the word that cut through everything. LeBron's legacy is manufactured. Not fake. Not empty. Impressive, but manufactured. Phil compared eras. Compared accountability. Compared pressure. And when he stacked LeBron next to Michael, next to Kobe, he said, "You're looking at two completely different worlds." That single word changed the air in the room. And Phil wasn't done. He went deeper, talked about control. Control of teams. Control of timing. Control of perception. He pointed out something no superstar before LeBron ever truly mastered: shaping the story itself. Media relationships. Social platforms. Narrative precision. Every major move, Phil suggested, wasn't just about winning, it was about legacy engineering. Then came the question nobody wanted to answer out loud. Can a legacy built with that much control ever match raw, unfiltered dominance? It landed heavy. Nobody argued. Nobody pushed back. The room stayed quiet. For about 48 hours. Then it leaked. Not the nuance. Not the full discussion. Just the grenade: LeBron's legacy is manufactured. That was all it took. Social media exploded. Sports shows panicked. Timelines caught fire. And just like that, the biggest basketball controversy of 2025 was born. LeBron's fans went to war. Phil is bitter. He's stuck in the past. This is disrespectful. Thousands of comments flooded in. But on the other side, LeBron's critics felt validated. Finally, someone with undeniable credibility said what they'd believed for years. The middle ground vanished. You were either in or out. But here's what most people missed. Phil wasn't ranting. He was pointing at something specific. When Phil talks about manufactured legacy, he starts with movement. His star stayed. Jordan built in one city. Kobe endured everything in one jersey. Dynasties were forged through loyalty, through losing seasons, through pressure that couldn't be escaped. LeBron chose a different path. Strategic exits. Perfect timing. Miami. Cleveland. Back again. Then the next chapter. Every move optimized. Every situation calculated. Different era. Different rules. Different definition of greatness. And that's the real reason this debate won't die. Because Phil Jackson didn't say LeBron isn't great.
Special. You said I'm special. I am not like anybody else.
That's true.
And I'm not talking about the public.
Yeah.
I'm talking about amongst the NBA ilk. I'm talking about cats that are a part of the fraternity of 450 plus players. That's it. In the world. You still went to the negotiating table and said, I'm one of the best. We expect to see that shit. And if you don't show it to us, we gonna point out.
Phil's argument wasn't subtle. It was sharp, almost ruthless. Legends don't go searching for greatness, he said. They turn where they are into greatness. Then came the super team era, and according to Phil, LeBron didn't invent it, he perfected it. The decision. Miami with Wade and Bosh. The return to Cleveland, followed by the push for Kevin Love. Every move precise. Every roster optimized. Every risk calculated. Phil had coached against super teams. He'd beaten them. But his were built differently. Homegrown cores. Years of tension. Players growing together through failure, not assembled overnight like a chessboard reset. Then Phil went somewhere even more uncomfortable. Leadership. Michael and Kobe led through pressure. Through discomfort. Through demanding greatness whether you liked it or not. You rose, or you were exposed. Every day was a test. LeBron leads another way. More collaborative. More supportive. More aware of the spotlight. And Phil's question was simple, but brutal. Does that create the same championship DNA, or a softer version of greatness? Then came the quote that detonated everything. When you control the narrative, Phil reportedly said, when you decide how your story is told, you're not letting the game speak for itself. That line hit like a punch. Michael never called himself the greatest. Nobody had to. The world just knew. LeBron, on the other hand, has shaped his story more than almost any athlete ever. Social media. Documentaries, production companies, media partnerships, a global brand built alongside the career. Phil's question wasn't hateful, it was surgical. Is that greatness, or is that branding? The internet doesn't do nuance. Within hours, the sports world was on fire. ESPN cleared schedules. Panels formed. Hot takes multiplied. Social media turned into a digital battlefield. Former teammates rushed to LeBron's defense. One anonymous voice close to the team said, "This is ridiculous. LeBron has done more for basketball than anyone in this generation." Others accused Phil of protecting Jordan's throne. Players posted cryptic messages. No names, no explanations, but the message was loud. This wasn't going to slide. But Phil had supporters too. Older fans. People who watched Jordan dominate night after night. To them, Phil finally said what no one else would. LeBron is great, no debate, but not that great. And Phil isn't guessing from the outside. He lived inside championship pressure for decades. Once the comments leaked, the generational divide in basketball fandom became impossible to ignore. Analysts split instantly. One side said Phil was outdated, stuck in a league that no longer exists. The modern NBA is faster, smarter, player-driven. Old rules don't apply. The other side praised Phil for doing what legends rarely do anymore, telling the truth and refusing to flinch. There was no consensus, only chaos. And at the center of it all, LeBron's silence. No tweets, no captions, no coded messages. Nothing. That silence screamed. Behind the scenes, sources said LeBron wasn't angry, he was hurt. Phil wasn't a random critic. He was someone LeBron respected. Someone whose voice mattered. Hearing that kind of criticism from that man didn't feel like noise. It felt personal. People assumed the storm would fade. That Phil might clarify, maybe soften the edge. 3 days later, Phil did the opposite. He doubled down. No PR buffer. No apology tour. Just a direct statement. He stood by every word. Greatness, Phil said, isn't just numbers or rings. It's how you get there. It's pressure. Accountability. Demanding excellence, not through comfort or friendship, but through standards that don't bend. Then he got specific. 2011 Finals. The first exit from Cleveland. The trust that fractured with an entire city. The super team era. Stacking talent, Phil argued, is not the same as elevating it. He didn't hedge. He didn't soften. And then he dropped the line that turned controversy into all-out war. Michael never had to announce he was the greatest. Kobe never had to build a media empire to shape his image. The game did that for them. The message was brutal and unmistakable. When you're truly great, you don't have to tell people. They remember you for what you did when everything was on the line, not for how well the story was packaged. And just like that, the debate wasn't about LeBron anymore.
It just sucks that, now at this point, having one of the, biggest businesses that you can have both on and off the floor, having a certified agent in Rich Paul, having a certified business partner in Maverick Carter, that's done so many great business, that the title for young African Americans is the word posse. So it's
The internet didn't just react again, it erupted. But this time the energy felt different. Phil Jackson wasn't retreating. He wasn't clarifying. He wasn't apologizing. He was challenging the entire way we define greatness. Former players who stayed silent at first finally stepped in. Some backed Phil openly. Others questioned his motives, accusing him of guarding the legends of the past. And right there, the argument stopped being only about LeBron James. It became something bigger. What is greatness now? Is it stats? Rings? Longevity? Influence? Or is it something harder to measure? Pressure, fear, dominance when everything is on the line? LeBron still said nothing. People close to him confirmed he saw Phil's statement. Read it carefully, line by line. And according to those sources, it bothered him more than any criticism ever had before. Because this wasn't just a disagreement between two icons. It was a collision of philosophies. Phil represents the old school. One franchise. Slow builds. Brutal accountability. Let your game speak. No explanations, no branding, no narrative control. LeBron represents the modern era. Player empowerment. Career control. Strategic moves. Brand building. Owning not just wins but perception. Neither path is wrong. But the second you ask which one is greater, the fight becomes inevitable. Phil's words hit harder because of who he is. He's not chasing relevance. He's not a talking head. He's the most successful coach of the modern era, a man who lived inside championship pressure and understands greatness from the inside out. That's why when he questions LeBron's legacy,